Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be painting an absolutely huge Tyranid 3D printed model. But first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to the army painter who supplied me all the paints for this tutorial and have sponsored it. And also I want to say a huge thank you to Amira Labs who provide the TGM7 resin to print the Tyranid. In this tutorial we're going to be painting this huge Tyranid to a very pleasing tabletop standard. We're going to be using some really simple techniques that everyone that watches this video is going to be able to follow and paint their own Tyranids in this similar scheme. I want to stress again guys, this is a very easy to follow guide. Everyone will be able to achieve exactly the same results just following the quick and simple techniques that we employ in this video. As always, this is going to be a long video, so go get comfortable, grab yourselves a nice hot drink, or maybe my personal favourite, a nice cold beer, and we'll get started with the tutorial. Here you can see the giant Tyranid that I've 3D printed using Amira Labs TGM7 resin, and I've primed it in black. The reason I primed it in black is we're going to be dry brushing the whole of the miniature through a series of greys up to white. This is going to enable us to get a pre-highlighted finish on the miniature. We're going to start off by dry brushing the miniature using the Army Painter's Uniform Grey. We're also going to be using a large dry brush from the Master Class series of Army Painter dry brushes. Here you can see I've removed most of the paint off the bristles of the brush on some plastic. The reason I don't use tissue paper or paper towels is because this really dries the paint out on the bristles of the brush and can leave like a chalky and uneven texture that we don't want on the miniature. So either use the back of your hand or use some plastic just to remove most of the paint from the bristles. Here you can see what the Tyranid looks like when it's been completely dry brushed using that uniform grey colour. Now we're going to be using the Army Painter's Ash Grey, which is a lighter grey, and we're going to be concentrating more so on the extreme raised surfaces of the miniature. So anywhere you see an area that you really want to pop out and look more brighter and lighter in colour, that's where we're going to be hitting the miniature with the lighter grey colour. Here you can see what the Tyranid looks like after we've applied the paint to the miniature, the lighter grey colour. Lastly, we're going to dry brush the miniature using matte white from the Army Painter. It's important to note that I'm really careful here, and I'm only hitting the extreme edges of the miniature with a white, as I don't want to spoil all the other colours that we've laid down as a dry brush previously. And here is what the Tyranid looks like after we've applied all of the matte white to the miniature. Now we're going to use a series of purples on the Tyranid's armour plates, or carapace if you will. We're going to start off using periwinkle blue, and I'm just going to coat this all over those armour plates. Here you can see what all those armour plates look like after being painted with that periwinkle purple. Now we're going to concentrate on actually adding highlights to the miniature using Purple Swarm. I'm very loose here. I may not have mentioned at the start of the video, but there's a new Warhammer 40k card game out, and some of the key artwork features a Tyranid painted up in purple, and I got great inspiration from that artwork. So what I'm doing is loosely looking around all the areas where I think a natural highlight would form on the miniature, and also paying particular attention to the extreme edges of all those armour plates. Now we're coming in with Familiar Pink, and we're adding an even more extreme highlight. Familiar Pink is very bright, so try to be more sparingly using this colour, picking out the extreme edges of the miniature. Again, this is going to add more beautiful highlights to the armour plates, and it's really going to start to make them pop. Here I've added a tiny amount of white to the familiar pink, so I used the Army Painter's acrylic matte white paint and added it to the familiar pink, so it was roughly 3 drops of familiar pink to a tiny amount of white, less than a drop of white. And what you'll see here is it's really starting to make those edges really pop out. Now we're going to be painting all the fleshy areas of the Tyranid using the Army Painter Speed Paint 2.0 Dusk Red. I don't show it on camera as I believe I forgot to record it, but after applying all of the Dusk Red, I added a tiny amount of white to Dusk Red and re-highlighted all of the areas around the flesh using Dusk Red and a tiny amount of matte white acrylic paint by the Army Painter. Here you can see that I'm dry brushing that mixture that I just mentioned a moment ago. So it's Dusk Red with a tiny hint of matte white paint in it, and then I dry brush it all over the miniature. here I'm going to be painting all of the talons of the Tyranid with poppy red from the Army Painters 2.0 speed paint range. And here is the end result of our giant Leviathan Tyranid. I really hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial, guys, and I hope it's inspired you to paint up maybe the new Tyranids from the new Leviathan box set that GW are bringing out very shortly from the new Warhammer 40k 10th edition. Again, I want to say a huge thank you to Amira Labs for sending me the TGM7 resin so I could print out this absolute beast of a miniature, and also the Army Painter who sent me out the paint and sponsored this video. Huge thank you to both of those companies. Lastly, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I really appreciate it if you like this video, share it amongst friends, but even more so if you actually leave a comment on the video. I love reading all your comments, guys. It really brings a highlight to my day, so don't forget to leave that comment, and I'll catch you in the next video.